Nefarious by DAMEON THORN.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Nefarious by DAMEON THORN. I'm DAMEON THORN, and on today's episode, we have Ari Elkins. Ari is a content creator, and Rolling Stone recently named him one of the future voices of music journalism. Ari is now the host of his new show, Soundtrack Your Day, exclusively on Spotify. Welcome, Ari. What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going well. How are you doing?
I'm great.
I'm caffeinated this morning. I'm ready to go. I got my oat milk latte in and I'm ready.
Really? Okay. Are you being real? Because you have been everywhere. How tired are you?
I'm a little tired. I just graduated college about 2.5 weeks ago. And since then I've been traveling literally every single weekend. So this is the first week I'm actually home, and by home I mean not fully home because I'm just staying at my parents right now while I look for an apartment, but I haven't even had time to find an apartment in LA. So I'm tired, but the grind continues.
It's pretty wild because we were actually scheduled before you even graduated. We were scheduled when you're still in school. So
and then and what happened is I had a final the day that we were supposed to film it. And I was like, I'm going to fail this final. I need to make sure I graduate college.
How has that been? Because it's literally been, I mean, I've been watching what's been going on in the last just few weeks, but it went from being at the Grammys, being at Coachella, being at the Billboard Music Awards, at Snapchat. It's graduating, moving. How are you balancing this? And are you just exhausted, or you're just like, go, 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 I can do this?
To be completely honest with you, I'm still figuring it out day by day. I think I'd be lying if I said I had it down yet. It's still a transition. I still feel like I'm figuring out how everything works. It's been fun. I've gotten to do such cool things in the past couple of weeks. But it's just figuring out how to balance going to these cool events, making sure I'm still on top of the content that I'm creating and have been creating. And there's so many opportunities, which has been awesome, but figuring out how to navigate that, how to maintain relationships with my friends, how to find an apartment and move into that while simultaneously working. So there's I feel like I'm getting pulled in so many different directions, but over time, I think I'm slowly grasping more and more. And I'm really happy to not be traveling this week and to kind of get my bearings in LA a bit more this week.
Right. Just able to chill out a little bit.
Indeed. A little bit.
Just a little bit. What has been, I mean, because you just kind of attended all these crazy events. Obviously, I watched your YouTube channel, so I know that you've been doing this for a minute. You've been on the social media game for a while now. But what really sparked this entire TikTok, music, branding for you? Obviously, you're a huge music fan, but what made you decide that I'm going to go in on music on social media really hard?
Yeah, so to be completely honest, there was never really a day in the beginning where I was like, I'm going to go into music on social media. I've been a big fan of music my entire life. My dad plays jazz piano. So I grew up sitting on his lap at the piano bench, listening to him jam out to Miles Davis. And then I started playing instruments when I was younger, picked up guitar for a bit, picked up piano, picked up saxophone. Then ended up going to a music high school in LA, where I was doing more back end stuff. So recording production. So all my friends were a lot more talented than I was at making music. So I'd be behind the desk, recording them in Pro Tools and Ableton. And then I went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor with this idea that I was going to become a doctor. And then I quickly realized that I'm afraid of blood.
Oh, wow.
So then I realized maybe I shouldn't be a doctor. That might not be the profession for me. And then I kind of fell back into music. I started working part-time while I was a sophomore at Michigan for Warner Records and Warner Music Group, doing social media stuff for them. Loved that. Had an internship that I was super excited for lined up at Warner, and then COVID hit and all the internships at Warner got canceled, and I'm sitting at home with nothing to do in Los Angeles. And then I just started posting TikToks, and the first one that went viral, quote unquote, was songs that will take you straight to your favorite frat basement. And it was this funny video of 8 songs that were just party songs that everybody got down to. I did a little cringy dance to them all. The video blew up. But yeah, so then just started posting TikToks. People loved the videos from early on. They were like, this is great. Like, make a Spotify playlist for this. Made the Spotify playlist. That started blowing up. And I was like, okay, if I can do this with party songs, I'm going to try the same thing with oldies. Because like I said, my dad was always playing me 60s and 70s music. So put together some Elton John, some Beatles into a video. The video blew up. Then everybody's like, make a playlist for this. And since then, it's kind of just ideated off of that. And here we are now.
Do you have your favorite 60s and 70s artists that you're like, these are my people?
I mean, I really like a lot of different stuff. Elton John is like, you know, I'm a big Elton John fan. Billy Joel. Yeah, a lot of different stuff. What about you?
What about me for 70s?
Yeah.
70, sort of that 60s, 70s, definitely Beach Boys, Bee Gees, obviously. What are you listening to now, though?
Today, everybody always asks me this question, and I feel like my answer always kind of sounds like it's bullshit, but it's not, which is I really like listening to everything. Given what I do, I like to listen to new country stuff. I'm listening to the new Zach Bryan album that just came out. I'm listening to electronic. I'm a big fan of Odessa and Fred again. I'm listening to the new Harry Styles album that just came out, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Listening to up and coming indie artists that not that many people know about, trying to find the new next and greatest person.
And how do you go about that? Like because I know I listened to Soundtrack Your Day yesterday, and I was like, oh, these are great questions that he's asking, but how are you specifically finding, other than just like on Spotify? Is there a technique that you have? Is there some secret websites that you're following or blogs, or are you just finding it anywhere that you can?
So I'm finding music through a plethora of different ways. There isn't like one surefire method where I'm like, this is where I'm finding the new hottest tunes, but a lot is on Spotify. I'm using my Spotify algorithm that's feeding me stuff. I feel like I've fine-tuned my algorithm so it knows like what I like and what I don't like. I'm going on the like underground music blogs, finding a bunch of stuff there. I do this weird thing where I'll search music on Spotify via keywords. So I'll put in like beach, or I'll put in, you know, morbid, or like random words. And then I
morbid,
just, like,
damn, okay.
Literally, like when I'm like building out the villain playlist,
right.
Saw that, I'll like look up the word morbid and find songs or like other playlists named by that. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit in the podcast yesterday, but I also really like looking at similar artists. So I'll go to some of my favorite artist page and find other similar artists. And I also get sent a ton of music, like in my inbox every day. Now that I'm doing this, I probably get 20 to 30 different artists pitching their music, which has been really cool. And I've found some great stuff through that. Some so great stuff, but also some good stuff as well.
So now everybody knows they're going to go flood your inbox.
Indeed.
Outside of music, what are you watching right now? Is there anything that you're binging on TV, or a show that you're like, this is the show, and you're upset when somebody doesn't watch? Not upset, but like, you need to watch this show because this is like my favorite show. Do you have something like that?
I'm a big Euphoria fan. I just finished the second season of Euphoria. I was a little
just
bit
now.
I know, I'm a little.
Well, you late.
I was just in finals mode, like not able to watch anything. I was like grinding, trying to make sure I graduated school. So I just finished Euphoria, which is fantastic. For the first season, I was on top of it. I was like, every week I'm on it.
Right.
This one, I lagged a little bit behind, but just finished that, which was great.
What a great score and soundtrack too, huh? I can
Indeed.
understand.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I love it. And
yeah,
it's great. The Labyrinth music is so good. I was a big Dominic Fike fan prior to Euphoria as well. So.
Oh, and he was great. He was great on the show.
Indeed.
I think people were really like questioning whether or not he'll be able to transition into the whole like acting thing on such a large show, but that boy killed it, and he had a song on it, and it was a dope song.
Yeah, I'm more curious to see how he transitions back into music. I think he's solidified the acting space to some extent, maybe even better than his music space at this point.
Right.
I mean, he's doing pop-up shows, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Okay, live shows. Let's talk about some live shows, because in the past few weeks, you've just been able to see a ton of artists performing. So has there been any highlights from the Grammys, Billboard, Coachella? And was this the first time that you went to these big events? Or have you?
So I had never been to any of the award shows. I've been to 3 so far. and they've all been incredible. The highlight by far, though, is Silk Sonic at the Grammys. They killed it. So good. I'm a huge Silk Sonic fan. I think what they're doing in music, kind of bringing back the oldies in a new way, is so cool.
Such a vibe. I saw Bruno Mars here in LA at the Forum, and the amount of energy and the crowd participation and just the hype is just so real. You're like, damn, these are like real ass musicians, and they bring it. They bring it like every second of a performance. Bruno fucking kills it. So like, wow. Anybody else?
With Anderson. Anderson does the same.
I mean, yeah, dude. What a great pairing. And then the music videos are also sick. The fashion is sick. I could keep going about Silk Sonic. Let's talk about Coachella.
Yep.
What was your experience with Coachella? Because it was my first Coachella. Okay. And it was very interesting. You know what? What did you think before I say anything?
So my experience with Coachella, this was my second Coachella ever, but this was a very different experience of Coachella for me, because the last time I went to Coachella, I was 16 years old in high school and just went with my high school friends. It was very much not a work trip. We were partying, having the best time. I was, trying to get to the front of every stage, going through crowds. So that was a blast. This year was very different because I kind of felt like I was working it to some extent. A lot of it was like networking for me. But I still really enjoyed it. It's interesting at Coachella, especially this time, I didn't realize how much goes on in the desert beyond Coachella. Right. So there were a bunch of events and brand activations outside of the festival, which were fun. But as a music head myself, all I wanted to do was like be at the shows. So I made sure I got to every show every day, and was there from beginning to end for the most part. And my highlight though, was Fred again by far. Did you go to the Fred again set?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So if you ever get the chance, if anybody's watching this, if you ever get the chance to see Fred again live, do it completely. Fred again is this producer who's produced nearly all of Ed Sheeran's tracks, and just started his own artist projects over quarantine, I believe, or maybe a bit before quarantine, but it's like electronic dance music. He does this thing where he finds slam poets on YouTube and samples their poetry. And a lot of the poetry is surrounding like mental health or quarantine and being locked inside, and then turns it into these like dance tracks. And everybody was jumping, everybody was dancing, everybody was present. That was the biggest thing, is I've never seen so many people not on their phone at a set than Fred again at Coachella. It was surreal.
Wow. Okay. You sold it. Everyone is going to go check them out.
Yeah.
Amazing. I found Coachella really interesting, because it was my first time. And every time I see sort of festivals of that caliber, like in film or videos from like back in the day, like from the 70s or 60s, you're like, oh shit, this looks like music people and everybody's like really excited. And then I got there and it was just like a lot of influencers and a lot of people who were like there for photos and stuff. But at the end of it, we were all there for the music and it showed at the end. But it was a really interesting space to be in. Did you find that, or you're kind of just like doing all of the things that you needed to do professionally while you were there?
No, I completely agree with you. I think Coachella is just because of the proximity to LA. So it draws that crowd of people in LA, and everybody knows about Coachella. Everybody wants to say they were at Coachella. Everybody wants a picture under the Ferris wheel. So I think I definitely agree with you. I think Coachella is one of those festivals where the music, I don't know if I'd say the music is secondary, but I think the music is at an equal playing field of all the other stuff. Whereas other festivals like Lollapalooza, Bonnaroo, the music definitely takes the forefront and everybody is there for the music. Whereas at Coachella, it gets a little wishy-washy.
It's so interesting, because I was just there and I was like, the people watching, dude, is unreal. Like, especially in like the VIP area of like seeing influencers and people in line to like buy food. I'm like, this is unreal. Like, when do you see like Jared Leto just walking around? It's so wild. Crazy. That's my Coachella 2 cents.
No, I mean, that's the other thing, is it's crazy like who you can see at Coachella. Like essentially nearly everybody's there. So I was watching Phineas's set like a couple feet from Billie Eilish, which was crazy.
It's unreal. It's so cool though. It's such a cool experience, but it's also kind of disgusting.
I completely agree. You take a
But
step back and you kind of look at it from like a macro perspective, and you're like, "The fuck are we doing here? Like,
yeah,
what
what the
really
fuck are
is
we
this?"
doing
You
here?
know?
It's really weird. But then at the same time, I like looked at everything and looked at everybody and how much time they put into like their fashion and outfits. And that's like
Mhm.
a whole nother art. I guess the narcissism was kind of very like evident. I don't
Yeah,
want to shit on it, but like you know what I'm saying? Like it's really interesting. It's like a really interesting space. But then the music is at the forefront. Like when Doja was getting ready to perform, you could feel the energy. Like
yeah.
everybody was hype as fuck. But it's such a odd space, huh?
I agree completely. I think for me, as someone who is that music person, I tried to be as present as possible for the music, and I tried to go to all my favorite artist sets. So I like did the best that I could to kind of shy away from the influencer world at Coachella. But I mean, it's hard to escape, you know, it's everywhere.
It is.
Um,
How do you balance like being at these festivals, being there for the music, but then also being fresh there and networking and talking to people and building actual connection with people? Is that hard to balance while you're in these spaces of going to an award show and all of that? Or is it something that's coming naturally? Or what about? Tell me about it.
I think it really depends. And I try and like set an intention before I go to something. So for instance, when I went to the Grammys, it was very much like a work trip for me. So the Grammys was not a weekend for me to go party in Vegas. It was very much let me attend the Grammys, let me meet as many people as I can in the industry. And so that's what it was. And with Coachella, I didn't have like an official role at Coachella this year. I wasn't really working per se. So I tried to really be more present and live in the moment and not seek out as much, you know, finding people or whatnot, but more
Yeah.
so just experience the music, hang out with. I went to Coachella this year with 8 friends. A couple of them are artists. And so we really just like hung out together, met some cool and awesome new people, but it was less so that like networking event that I felt like the Grammys were, or even Lollapalooza that I went to a year ago. I was like working Lollapalooza per se. I was like very much focused on content. You'll see my Coachella content was very much lacking. I think I maybe posted one TikTok about it.
I saw Hassan Piker's story with you and him, and I was
Yep.
like, "Oh shit, he's with Hassan." I love Hassan, so like to see you guys together, I was like, "That's
Yes,
dope."
so random. I like had heard about him, but I didn't know exactly what he did. So he like came up to me. He's like, "Bro, like I see your videos. Like, can we get a pic?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I was with my manager Ryan, and Ryan goes like, "You know who that was, right?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Hassan." I'm like, "The Twitch guy?" He's like,
Dude,
"Yeah." I'm like, "Holy shit! Like that's crazy." And then everybody freaked. And then he posted it on Twitter, and everybody started freaking out about it. So it
yeah,
was
dude.
a
Like,
very cool thing that I didn't even realize was like fully happening in the moment. And then I saw him later in the weekend, and I've DM'd him a bit, and so hopefully we'll do some other collab in the future as well, which I think could be
have you
cool.
had any starstruck moments where you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I just fucking met this person," or seen them from afar, or has
Billie
it happened?
Eilish was definitely a crazy one, where I was just like, oh my god. Who else? I feel like from doing this, it's weird how like normal people are. Like I was expecting these artists to be like very jaded by stuff and less down to earth. But at Coachella, I had like a 10-minute conversation with Maggie Rogers,
Holy shit.
which was incredible. But she was just the most kind, cool person I've ever met. She talked about how she was in school and was writing her like senior, I don't know if it's, I think she might be in a master's program, but was writing a thesis on Coachella and like Coachella as a religion, and festivals as a religion. And she like talked to me a little bit about that. And that was one of the coolest experiences where
That's
it was
so
just like,
fascinating. What a
yeah, it was so
fascinating
fascinating. And it
yeah.
was cool to just be like, I've been listening to Maggie Rogers music for so long. I saw the Pharrell video of Maggie Rogers kind of being found a couple years back. And so to just like have a normal conversation about like school, and she was asking me about like my finals, I was talking to her about her finals. That was crazy. So that was definitely a starstruck moment.
That's amazing. And she was amazing. Like her
Nuts.
set was, I think, probably one of my favorites just because
Yeah.
it was so like rock and the live band. It just felt classic, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just felt very classic. It wasn't all the hubbub and production. It was like stripping it down to a songwriter singing with a band and just the vocals. And I really, really enjoyed, and I hadn't seen Maggie Rogers live before. So that was like really, really awesome.
Yeah, it was my first time seeing her live too, and surreal.
Did you have anybody else at Coachella that you were like, this was awesome as far as headliners go?
I really liked the Swedish House Mafia weekend set.
That was fun. That
Yeah,
was
it was
really,
fun.
really fun.
I didn't exactly know what to expect going into it, but I thought they killed it.
I hadn't gone to like a festival, like an EDM, like an EDC type of thing. So I didn't really get like festival culture and why like Swedish House is so big and why like Disclosure is so, the feels that you get from an EDM set, it
Yeah.
is wild. Like, yeah, that Swedish House set was like everybody was in it and everybody was in it together. And it was just like this unified, I don't know. Do you get what I'm saying? Is that how
You
what you
feel like
felt?
you're one with the group. Like those
Right.
sets are
Yeah.
so interesting because you really feel like everybody's there together experiencing the same thing. Did you go to the Flume set?
I did. Yeah. I kind of
So
was like, I went and got like did you get like any of those churros? They had like the churro ice
no.
cream.
Did I miss out on Coachella churros?
Dude, yeah. So basically every day I I went between the two headliners, I would watch like Megan the Stallion and then go get my churro and then come back and then like eat my churro and ice cream. And then the headliner and like Billy went on. And that's what I did every day. I got really
You
fat
had like a
during Coachella.
routine.
Yeah, I mean, I was there and the food was bomb. So I was like,
Yeah.
and
The
everybody
food
was kind of
was really
everywhere.
good this year, I will say. Like they killed it on that food. I had some like pulled pork sandwich or something. Didn't know what
Mm.
to expect, but it was really good.
What'd you
Yeah.
have?
And a acai bowl.
Acai bowl. That's so different.
Yeah.
So
I was
wow,
all
you
over the
really
place.
went outside the
Really didn't get
box with
anything.
your acai bowl, Ari.
It did.
I had the papusas and that was really bomb. Like it was really, really good.
I haven't had pupusas in so long, but in high school, the cafeteria used to have like pupusa day. This is so random, but they were so good in high school. I would always eat them.
So are you still biking?
So great question. My biking now has kind of been put on hold to some extent. I'd love to get back into it, especially, I mean, first living in Michigan, you can't really go outside
Actually,
70
let's pause.
here.
Everybody tell everybody a little about your love and interest for biking.
Okay, so that's funny. I like rarely get asked about this, but I used to like bike semi professional, not professionally, but like I took it very seriously.
Oh, you were on a team, so let's
Yeah, I was on a team.
yeah.
I went to a couple of the like USA scouting for the Olympic team camps. I never made the Olympics, obviously. But got scouted. I got recruited for college for it and kind of ended up deciding in the end like that this wasn't for me to some extent to do it as seriously as I was doing it. I was probably training 5 to 6 days a week, waking up at it was really the timing for me because we'd always train in the morning, and with cycling, you're not just like going for like a ride around your block. Like a daily ride would be like 4 to 6 hours, and we do
Oh
70 to
my
80
God.
miles. So it really was just such a time commitment, and I loved it. I met such incredible people. I had so much fun racing. I raced both indoors and outdoors. So it was a blast, but I kind of put it on hold towards the end of my senior year when I realized that I wasn't going to be pursuing it in college full time. But I hope to kind of get back into it at some extent now that I'm living in LA. I'm like looking over my camera at my bike. It's still here. I haven't hopped on it in a little bit. But what I have been doing, which is kind of weird and random, but I guess coincides, is I've been going to Soul Cycle occasionally. Because
Okay.
Soul
Are you
Cycle,
ripping it up at Soul Cycle? Are
yeah,
you
I'm
just like
kind of
the
ripping it
best
up at Soul Cycle because it kind of combines two of my interests. You know, there's great music at Soul Cycle. The instructors are always curating fantastic playlists. So I'm finding new music, and I'm like kind of back in my biking phase a little bit where I'm just like grinding on the bike. But I will say I miss out on like the cool views of biking and seeing cool stuff, which you don't really get when you're
I think we need
inside
to. I
a
think we
hot
need
room.
to drop a Soul Cycle Spotify Ari playlist event where Ari hosts a Soul Cycle, with his playlist. Let's make that, Bobby Page, let's make that happen.
Yeah,
Let's,
so I will say, not to spill any tea, but there is some sort of biking collab in the works.
Shut
That's happening
up.
on
That's
the
sick.
Spotify show.
Okay.
So look out for that. It's
Okay.
coming.
Okay. So speaking of collabs, can you tell us a little bit about your show? Tell us about how it all happened. Take us back.
Yeah. So we're going back a little bit far. It was definitely a long process.
Okay. How far are we talking?
We're talking last summer, around June, July, August of 2021. The Spotify team approached me and was like, hey, we're rolling out this new Spotify Live show concept. Come to us with some pitches for different show ideas. We'd love for you to host something. And first, when I saw that email, I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. I've been using Spotify. All my playlists are on Spotify. Like to be able to partner and work on something with Spotify in an official capacity was so incredible when I found out about it. Has been so incredible now that I'm actually doing it. So I came to Spotify with a couple different show ideas. We landed on my favorite idea of the options, which is Soundtrack Your Day, which is basically this idea of looking at the intersectionality between pop culture and music, because everybody listens to music in some capacity, whether you're an artist or not, and bringing on non-traditional guests that don't usually talk about music and pairing them with artists who they love. And together we create this playlist around a different theme. So last night we were looking at mental health, and I had on Chelsea Cutler, Charlie Jordan, and Emma Brooks. And we were talking about different songs for mental health and just talking about mental health in general. And coming up, we have a whole sports episode where I'm bringing on some college basketball players talking about what music they like to listen to in the locker room. Because everybody's listening to music. And the idea kind of came from, have you seen like Obama's playlist? How every year Obama puts out a playlist?
I actually haven't.
Okay,
but that sounds really interesting.
Yes. So every year Obama will partner with Spotify, I believe, or maybe he just does it on his own accord and puts out this playlist of like songs that he's been bumping all year. And as a music listener, I thought it was the coolest thing because I'm like, Obama's a pretty cool guy. To know what Obama's listening to, like, this is awesome. And then I'll listen to his songs and I'm like, Obama isn't an artist, but people still care about the music Obama's listening to. Bringing on people that aren't artists themselves, having them talk with artists, and then talking about the music that everybody loves, and kind of making music a soundtrack to people's life and a soundtrack to people's day.
That is so awesome. That is so cool. Yeah. Sidebar, what is Obama listening to?
So that's the other crazy thing is like, the last Obama playlist I think came out 9 to 10 months ago. So I don't exactly remember what was on it, but what I do remember is it was a plethora of stuff from different areas where you were just like, there was a lot of like old 90s hip hop. And then you had some like current stuff. I think there was like a Lizzo song on there, and there were just like all these different songs. There was some country. I think there was like a Rufus Du Sol song or something. So you're just like,
Obama.
What? Yeah, like Obama's listening to Rufus
up in
Du
here.
Sol. So yeah, it was cool to see. And that's kind of where the idea came from, and bringing out, I mean, maybe one day we'll get Obama on. That would be really cool.
I mean, anything is possible. Did you ever expect that this is where your life would be?
No, I had no idea. I mean, it all started in quarantine when I just posted a random TikTok video, and that kind of blew up. I never thought this would be my like job and career per se. But here we are. I'm really happy to be here.
So how does that feel for you, other than just being happy? Is it surreal, or talk to me? Or is it something that once you started, you were like, I kind of know that this is where it's going? Or are you pinching yourself every day?
I'm pinching myself at particular moments every day, I'll say.
Okay.
There's things that I'm happening. It's going to the Grammys, I'm pinching myself. It's seeing my name in Rolling Stone, I'm pinching myself. In terms of like this being a career, I feel like over the past 2 years, it's been a slow progression, and I've kind of seen the progression and have worked hard to lead up to it. So that as much, I feel like I've like understood, and I've seen it slowly progress. It's the like crazy experiences. It's meeting the crazy people that I like pinch myself, and I'm like, how did I end up here? Like, how is this my reality?
That's pretty wild. How did you come up with just the concept and the editing and the overlays of your videos? Because they hook you. I mean, you do the whole turn, you do like, it's very strategic as well in terms of the presentation and the editing. How did that happen? Or do you have a background in, or do you just automatically, just something that you understand as far as social media goes and hooking an audience? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is trial and error, in all honesty.
Hmm.
The early videos were very different than the videos that I'm putting out today. But I think a big piece of it is just like psychology. I've taken some psychology classes in college at Michigan, and thinking about how to grab someone's attention, reel them in, and always thinking about, okay, you have my attention for the next 2 seconds. How can I get you to watch for 5 seconds? How can I get you to watch for 10 seconds? And so on and so forth. And as a person with ADHD, I'm the person who, if you don't have my attention, I'm moving this way, I'm moving that way. So I just kind of think about it as like myself, like, would I be interested in this, and try and create content that I would want to watch, and hopefully other people enjoy it as well. But it's still a work in progress. I'm still putting out videos, and sometimes they don't hit and sometimes they do. So learning every day and growing and continuing to ideate off of that.
It's a lot of work. How much do you feel the burnout from just having to create content? And I know you just graduated, but
Yeah.
how hard was it going to school and then also being a content creator and keeping up with your content schedule, but then also taking a final? Like
Yeah.
how was that?
It was definitely difficult at the end. In the beginning, I feel like it wasn't that bad, especially because all my classes in the beginning when I was starting out were on Zoom.
Mm.
So it wasn't like I had to like go to class, come back. I didn't have like the travel. Zoom class, as I'm sure most people will attest to, was a lot easier than like actual school. But this past year, having in-person classes, it was definitely difficult. But a lot of it just came down to time management. So it was like, my friends are going out tonight to a bar. I can't do that because I have 3 videos to make. But
Mm.
hopefully I'll hang out with them tomorrow.
All right, Ari, let's get into some random questions. Ari, what's your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal?
Yeah. Are you not
Okay.
a cereal eater?
I'm not really, that's my issues. I'm not really a cereal eater, in all honesty, but I appreciate cereal. And so like, I can appreciate the occasional bowl of cereal. And when I'm reaching for a bowl of cereal, I'm going for Lucky Charms.
You're going
But
for
I'm
Lucky Charms. That's a
but
really
I'm
interesting one.
particularly eating the marshmallows. I'm like kind of digging around the normal like Cheerio pieces.
Are you a sugar person?
So I'm a sugar person, but I don't eat sugar, because the second I start eating sugar, I'm like the person who needs sugar every single day. So I like refrain from eating sugar because I know I'll get in these waves where like I'll eat like cake at a friend's birthday party, and then for the next 2 weeks, I'm like going out for dessert every single night.
I mean,
So
that's how it starts. It
yeah,
really,
exactly. I try and like shy away from it.
for me,
But my
it's Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving leads into like Christmas, and then
yeah,
Christmas leads into like everyone's birthdays in January, and then my
exactly.
birthday's in February, and then my sister's in March, and it just never
It's a
stops.
roll. You just start going, and then it's hard to get off the train.
Do you have any favorite restaurants in LA now that you moved here? And how is the move to LA?
So I actually grew up in LA my whole life.
Oh,
I was born and raised here. So I don't have that experience of like, I'm moving to LA. It's kind of like I grew up here. Like all my high school friends, all my friends growing up are here, which is nice. My parents are here. My family's here.
what part
So
of LA were you born or raised in?
like West LA, the West Side.
Got it.
In it. So yeah, it's been fun to be in LA. It's weird because I grew up in no way connected to the entertainment industry in LA. It was
Hmm.
very much like I was just a kid growing up, going to school, going to the park with my friends, playing basketball, shooting hoops. And now I very much feel like I'm like in LA of like, what you see online, I feel more so in line with, which has been interesting and an adjustment to some extent. But I love LA. I love being near the beach. The weather's always great. So really
Do
happy
you,
to be here.
do you take advantage of LA?
I
Like, do
think
you
so.
actually do the LA things? Because
I don't do
someone
the,
also born and raised in Los Angeles,
yeah.
I
Where
have
in LA?
born in the South Bay area, so like
Okay.
Torrance,
Yep.
Carson, Manhattan Beach, that
My
whole beach
cousins
city
live
area.
in Florence.
Yeah, but I feel like I have never even ran like Runyon, just because
Oh,
I just don't do the LA things. I don't know. Is that something that you do?
so I do the LA things. I think I do less of the touristy LA things, but my favorite part of LA is the ability to go to the beach in the morning, to go a hike and hike up a mountain at night. And then, I mean, if you're really crazy, you can drive to Big Bear and you can go skiing or snowboarding the same day too.
That's what's wild. We have like everything. We literally have everything you can think of in one city. Anywhere you want to go is within like an hour and a half. Yep. Okay, I want to ask you another random question because I like the serial questions, and I like the random because we could talk about music all day, but the whole point is getting to know you. So did you play any video games growing up or watch any specific cartoons? Tell us about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I never really got into the whole like cartoon stuff. Video games I was kind of into, but I was never like your big video game person. My sister was the video game person in our household. She was always online on her like Nintendo Switch playing something. I had my like Call of Duty phase where I played that for a little bit. I played your like NBA 2Ks for a bit, but I was never the like video game kid. And I think a lot of that was just because I was like always on my bike, like cycling and stuff. So I was like I was either in school or like outside, you know.
He was sporty, bro. He's like, bro, I fucking play sports.
No, but I wasn't though. I was sporty in my like own weird way to some extent. Like I was not good at basketball. I was terrible at baseball. I never played football. Like I wasn't doing the normal sports that like all the like jocks did. I was like putting on spandex and joining the cycling team, you know? So I was sporty in my own way. I'd run a bit, but yeah, I think part of that is just because I'm like uncoordinated with like catching and throwing to some extent. Like I can catch and throw a ball, but I'm nowhere near as good as like my friends who were the jocks who were killing it.
I mean, you have a creative brain, clearly. So that's it is what it is.
Indeed.
It is what it is. Okay, I want to get another random. So you didn't really watch cartoons?
No.
Interesting. So as a kid, you kind of just listened. What did you do all day? What was your life? Was it social media?
No, I wasn't posting stuff at all when I was younger. I was cycling a bunch. I had fantastic friends in high school who I'm still in super good touch with. We were just doing random stuff. We were going to the beach. I surfed a bit when I was younger.
Surfing.
I was never good at surfing, but like I'd always just go out there on my board, fall a bunch, and just have the best time. I hiked a bunch. I drove like DoorDash and Uber Eats to like make random money when I was younger. I'd like be in high school and I was like, I have nothing to do. All right, I might as well like go try and like make $20. So do that when I was bored. What else?
Did you have any other high school jobs other than DoorDash?
No, I didn't have any other. I mean, I did Postmates as well. No other high school jobs, but in college I worked at a salad place, like putting together salads. Yeah, it was like a shittier Sweetgreen. It was like the
got it.
Sweetgreen.
What do you have any advice for up and coming creators or younger creators that are just starting off, that do have a job, that are trying to make content, that are like, do you have any advice for them about what you would have done differently?
When you're popping. So like when you're really blowing up, that's the time to be like doubling down. And, you know, I feel like I succeeded in doing well on social media, but I wonder if like in the early stages of TikTok, where it wasn't as saturated as it is today, if I was probably posting 4 to 5 days a week, if I was posting 3 times a day, like where would I be? You know? So like when you're in that mode of like, this is finally working, stuff's going well for me, like that's the time to grind even harder and, you know, double down on your content. Don't give up. I think it's important to pick a niche. I know everybody kind of says that, but I think figuring out what exactly you want to be doing and diving deep into that is important, because then people kind of know what to expect when they go to your page and are looking for content.
Right.
And I think the other thing, which is another like cliche thing to say, is just like be yourself and have fun with it. And, you know, I think on TikTok especially, and social media in general, it's pretty easy to read out when people aren't being authentic. So I think if you come to the table, are happy and excited with what you're doing, that shows. And will there be people that don't fuck with you and don't like what you're doing completely? But if you're happy with yourself and what you're doing and are just having a good time, then like the haters don't matter to some extent.
Yeah, fuck those haters.
Yeah, fuck the haters.
Stupid ass haters.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Stupid hater. In high school, was there a band that that you had on repeat, or an artist that you had on repeat?
Frank Ocean. I was a
Okay.
huge Frank Ocean fan in high school. Still a big Frank Ocean fan today. What else did I like to listen to in high school? Odessa was always being bumped in my car in high school. I listened to like a bunch of basic EDM in high school, which I still appreciate today.
Is there an EDM artist that you've seen that you're like, oh, or that you haven't seen that you're waiting to see?
I saw Odessa at Coachella a couple years ago, and that was prior to the Fred Again show. That was my favorite show I've ever been to. I've seen Kygo a good amount, and Kygo's great. Who's someone I want to see? I've never seen Rufus Du Sol. I'd love to see Rufus Du Sol at some point. I also really want to. Have you heard of Red Rocks at all?
I have not heard of Red Rocks.
So Red Rocks is this outdoor venue in Colorado that is like it's like built into this rock formation.
Ooh.
And they have like insane EDM artists and they project stuff on the rocks. So I'd love to go see maybe Rufus Du Sol at like a really cool outdoor in nature venue like Red Rocks.
That's sick. Is there any place that you haven't visited yet that you want to visit?
In the entire world, like
in the entire world.
I've never been to Greece. I would love to go
Okay.
to Greece at some point. I haven't explored Asia at all. I'd love to go and see Asia. I mean, there's so many places in all honesty.
Do you have a favorite place that you've been to?
I recently, like a couple months ago, I got to go to Morocco.
What?
Which was crazy. I was with my friend Eric, who went to Michigan with me, and we were up late one night drinking, in all honesty. We were like, we should do something crazy. Let's go to Morocco. And we found flights for, I think, $150. We booked a hotel for $25 a night.
What?
Like, fuck it, we're going to Morocco.
Did you say $150 to Morocco?
Yeah, we were in Portugal already.
Okay. I was like, what? That doesn't sound right.
Portugal already, visiting our friend's family there. But we were like, it was probably 4 a.m. and we were just like, we're doing this. And we packed our stuff at 4 a.m., headed straight to the airport at 6 a.m. and spent 3 days in Morocco. And it was one of the most incredible trips I've ever had. It's so different. It felt like we were just in such a different place. Whereas like we were in Portugal as well. And Portugal kind of feels similar to the US a bit. Like Europe is kind of similar to the US, and like it feels very first world country, whereas Morocco was just so different. It was definitely out of our comfort zone, but it was an incredible trip.
You're able to experience some culture.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of traveling. You lived in Hawaii. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So
how did that even happen?
So that was during Zoom University at Michigan, where all our classes were online. We're in Michigan, which, have you been to Michigan at all?
I have not been to Michigan.
Okay. Well, Michigan is just like a freezing cold place where, especially during the winter months, it's gloomy, dark, snowing nearly every day. So we're like, if we're going to be sitting inside already on our computer doing school, why not try and go somewhere cooler? So a bunch of my friends and I moved to Hawaii for 6 weeks and got a place there, and we rented like an Airbnb, and then our Airbnb was surprisingly cheaper than our rent in Michigan. We subleased our apartment in Michigan to some random kids, and it ended up being even like less expensive than what we were paying.
Wow.
So it really worked out.
I love that everything is becoming, I mean, I was going to say, I love that everything is becoming remote, but not school.
Yeah. I feel for kids that have only experienced remote, like college. I think like it's important to be in person. You learn a lot more. You meet people way better.
Do you miss school?
I don't miss going to class, but I miss my friends. And I lived in a house with 9 guys. I miss waking up every morning and just like seeing my friends every day. And I feel like now, since I'm like here working all day, you really have to like put an effort to see the people you love. Whereas like in school at Michigan, I'd walk to class and I'd see 5 people I know. Then I'd come home and I'd be living with 9 of my friends. Then we'd go out and everybody's kind of going out to the same places. So you're seeing everybody there. Whereas now I like, want to see my friends. So I'll text him and I'll be like, hey, like, let's like do this thing on this day at this time. So it's a lot more like effort that goes into it.
Whereas, everything's got to be scheduled.
Exactly. Whereas in school, you're just like surrounded by people you love at all moments, and you don't really have to put in work to see the people you love.
Have Have you talked about with any other creators about where you see the future of social media going? Has that been a conversation that you've had yet?
Yeah, I've had that conversation. I mean, I'm the first to say I don't see myself like being on TikTok forever. I don't think I'll be making TikTok videos when I'm 35. I mean, I guess who knows? But I think figuring out longer form content is always like what people strive to do, which I think is interesting because as new generations come in, I think everybody's attention span is decreasing and decreasing. So it's interesting that everybody's trying to like move on to longer form content when in reality, like what people are actually want, I guess, to some extent is shorter form content. But I think like moving more into the hosting sphere of things, would love to keep up with hosting opportunities. I'm trying to do more live in-person hosting for different events as well. And then I've
Have you
also,
always been this personable? Have you always been able to communicate with people in a way that you do, or is that something that you developed over time?
I think it's something that I've kind of like grew up with. Like when I was younger, everybody would always say like, I'd always go to my friends' houses and I'd always like have long conversations with their like 45-year-old parents when I was like 12 years old.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of like one of those things that I've like kind of always been doing to some extent.
You definitely have the presence, and I'm sure you've heard people talk about your voice. It grabs you. Has anybody ever told you that?
Yeah, I get two things. One is like you have the like radio voice, and then the other is you have a blaring Los Angeles accent that you can't escape. So I get both.
Are you into any of like the Marvel, any of that, any of like the big franchises?
To be honest, I'm not. My sister is. My sister is like so the person that's in on all of these things. But yeah, I never got into it.
So Ari is
What
just
is
like
one Marvel thing, or what's one thing like to lose my Marvel virginity per se? What should I dive into?
what should you dive into? I don't know if there's one thing you could dive
Okay.
into to just be like, this is the one you need to watch.
Okay.
Because in all honesty, of working in film, I would say you really, really should watch the entire first couple phases of Marvel so you can get to the end game, which is the highest grossing movie of all time. And there's a reason. So I would definitely watch it specifically to watch the evolution of film and the formulas. There's a lot of directors that like to like shit talk Marvel and be like, it's not real cinema. But what they've done with the evolution of it and the storytelling is very unique and very different. If you're not into like bam bam superhero type of stuff, maybe it's not going to be like the best thing for you if you're not into like that fantastical fantasy,
Mhm.
sci-fi world. But if you want to watch the evolution of cinema and creating a new really structure of how to tell something, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is really, really solid of just even seeing that. So I would say just start from the beginning. I would start with Iron Man and go.
All right, I'm doing it. I'll let you know how it goes.
I please keep me posted. I'm really stoked to hear you say that because it's really something different.
My sister
Wow.
will be happy too. I think my sister will probably end up watching them with me. She's all about it, and so is my dad. My dad and sister, like that's their thing. They're like all about sci-fi, all about Marvel.
Ari, this has been great. What's happening next?
What is happening next? Like I just said, I launched the Spotify show about 2 weeks ago, so that's been the forefront of my mind
Mm-hmm.
recently. I'm gonna be going to a bunch of music festivals this summer. I'm going to Bonnaroo in June, doing some stuff there, which I'm really excited about. Lollapalooza as well. So kind of diving more in the live event space, which I think will be cool. Going to continue creating content, coming up with new playlist ideas, new videos to come out. Still doing my Wednesdays live show on Instagram where I bring on random artists talking about their upcoming releases and interviewing them. And I think we'll see. I'm excited. I think there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more I want to do, and I'm figuring it out day by day and learning what works and what doesn't. And I definitely don't have it all figured out, but hopefully in due time I'll get a greater grasp on things.
I have no doubt more from you. This was a really, really fun conversation. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Ari J Elkins, ARIJELKINS.
What's the
I'm on
J
Twitter
stand for?
too. The J is for my middle initial, Jack.
Jack.
Indeed.
Okay.
Jack.
Sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
No. YouTube, Ari Elkins. On Spotify, it's just Ari Elkins, and the show is called Soundtrack Your Day. It airs every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific live. And then you could also watch it after if you're not able to tune in live. But if you can tune in live because then you can be part of the audience. And
tune in live, guys. It's great.
Yeah. And we have some cool things planned. We're going to be doing a lot more audience participation stuff, having the audience like actually come and talk to all the guests we bring on as well. So
amazing. It was so great talking to you, Ari.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who is listening right now. Make sure you guys follow wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Yes.
And we'll see you on the next episode. Later.